Okay, hi everybody. It's your neighborhood friend. All right, so what's going on? Let me play this for a second. Hit stop. Sound like Jaws. This is Greg Unsane, and now that I have the Saturn V videos back up, this is a behind the scenes of the main tribute video. And it's about the audio part of it. I'm not here to talk about the video editing too much, except where it relates to what I did with the audio. So how I did this is I came across a couple videos, Apollo 17 with onboard audio footage. I thought that was cool. Apollo 8 with the loop from Mission Control. I was like, well, that's cool. And I started assembling things, and the project just sort of, took on its own deal to where it is now. It was originally supposed to be more like the Beast Mode 1, the other video that I made. And I'd love to show you the audio session for that, but for the life of me, I cannot find the actual Logic session. I don't know what happened to it, and I'm not too happy about that, but that's most likely my fault. I do have all the original audio from that one, because that was a simpler one to do. But I do have all these sounds, which I've posted on a Google Drive, including an onboard shuttle launch, and if it wasn't for them adjusting the recording level, it would be a perfect sound wave. But I'm going to give those guys to you. I'll put the link down in the description below, and have at it, because these are all sourced from the archives, and what this one, and I think this one, these top three, David Fairhead, he was the editor for In the Shadow of the Moon. He gave me those. He heard I was looking for stuff, and he had some stuff for me. And he has seen this video too, so that was cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, and these are all the audio files I'm using. Now, some of these are natural, and some of these are sound effects from Logic that I used because there was no original sound there. And then we're going to have my music and a few other things here. So I'm going to go ahead and close that so we can see the window more. And basically what I did with the intro is that the intro has some little flashes here. And the music is down here. Now I know this is a WAV file. Let me turn on the automation. Excuse me. That's the loop recording right there. And obviously it's turned down until it fades in when the music here fades out. And this is Walter Cronkite, which I put a bunch of reverb and made him sound real distant. I wanted to bring back the memory of when Apollo 4 was so loud it shook everything. Because he's screaming, we can't, it's loud. So I'll run that, make this a little bigger. Little facts in the intro about it, little flashes. That's Apollo 4 rollout. Some freeze frames and things like that. I did all this music. This is all original music. I just sat there with the Logic going, just something simple with the little boom boom drop. I made the boom boom noise and then dropped it in there. And that gave me the idea to edit the video the way I did with the little flashes, so everything's a boom. So I finished the audio, went back and redid the video edits based on what I did on the audio. So everything on this project is really based around the sounds. Now we're getting into the loop. The music is going to fade out with one more boom when they blast that arm off of there. I wanted to let this go a few seconds. This is mainly for geeks. Some people, that's not necessary to be in the video. Let a few seconds go. All right. All right. So what I did with this part here is, as I say, 5, 4, I changed the A on. I'm doing the edit. And this is an actual sound from, I'm going to solo this. I'm going to mute that so you guys can hear it. This is recorded 3.5 miles away. You can hear people whistling and go, woohoo, because it was recorded out there. And you hear the volume come way up as the sound from when the rocket starts clearing the tower, starts happening. Of course, they're hearing it so far away that it takes 1,100 feet per second times 3.5 miles. I think it takes a good 20 seconds to get back there. I did not make any kind of time adjustment for where this camera is because I'm moving the camera splits all over the place, meaning as soon as you see the ignition, I did it Hollywood style, which is quite often wrong. An explosion a mile away, you're not going to hear as you see it. All right. But I did it do a Hollywood style because I got so many edits going on, so many different camera angles, up close, up far away. This would just be the easiest, and I don't think most people would understand that. But in the Beast Mode 1, because I use fewer cameras and fewer edits as simpler video, the cameras are about a quarter mile away. I did time correct for that. It's about a second of a delay from what happened. So that's why the Beast Mode 1 looks a little bit more real. Right? And of course, if you've watched that, there's no on-cabin audio or anything like that. To make this file stereo, I'm giving it through some hardcore compression here. And it's on automation here, so we hear this kick up. I'm kicking the low end up stupid fierce. I just turn EQs until I like them, basically. Now, that image right there has got sample delays, imagers, compressors, so it kicks in a little bit later. So as the rocket's on the pad, you don't notice much. As it rises up, not only is it getting louder, but now the sound source itself is lifting off the ground, and you're going to get bouncing all over the place. So that's what I'm simulating here. So that's got all the stuff here. The explosion blast I added because I needed to get that part of it right there. And that is going through some kind of echo sound too, I think. So after the tower, we shift into in-cabin. So it's kind of a weird thing I'm doing where the viewer, you hear the outside rocket sound from, where like people like my dad was and things like that. But you're also hearing inside the cabin, but I'm not trying to get it to where you're listening to it on a radio or something, because I'm trying to bring you in the cabin. So over time, these launch files here, which another one from 16, I use that to kind of extend out. Because even though we're analog recording mediums in the day, the dynamic range was still pretty limited. So this quiet part here could have been in reality 75 decibels up to 130, but that's harder to translate, and you can see the level drops off pretty quick there. So on bend launches, you hear stuff for a while. So I'm using this second launch sound to kind of extend that. And I'm mixing the cabin level around all this other stuff. That's where all the work is done. We'll talk about the wind noise in a second. The galactic static was just some synthesizer, lowest note possible. And I just held it. It's going blah, 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 blah. Okay. That is going to be the in-cabin rumble, even though we don't notice it right now. It will appear. So I just go ahead and run it. It's in the background, and it'll appear to fade in as the other stuff fades out. So again, you're hearing all natural sounds right now. And here comes John Young's launch. And as the background noise kicks down, the in-cabin volumes are going to follow it. That's Jack Schmidt talking. Okay, so let's talk about the next major thing, Max Q. I got a track of wind noise here. And it's automated to get louder, and it's automated to change the level of EQs. It's going to get thicker and thicker and just obnoxiously loud. And how'd you make that sound? I didn't. It's natural. I got this from the in-cabin audio.
Roger, big wet. Yeah, this thing shakes like the sun. Yeah, that's max Q. Wait till we get our max Q.
Listen to that. Right there is where I grabbed it. So you can barely hear. Now remember, these microphones are inside helmets. They're not exposed. I read somewhere that the in-cabin noise by that point was probably approaching 140 decibels. It just sounds like your eardrums are getting ripped. You don't even notice anything louder anymore. It just hurts more. So what I did with that wind noise is isolated it, looped it, sent it to an image, stereo image of sound like that, which the image kicks in later, so it just sounds like it's doing this. I'm EQing, let's see, what's my EQ here? About 400 hertz and 3K-ish almost, and boosting and cutting that to make the sound thicker, and then it thins out as they go higher in the atmosphere, and they start losing pressure pretty quickly. And where I thinned it out was based on two things. It was based on, you hear it go away in the cabin of the Apollo here. You hear them say it quiets out, the rocket rides smoother, things like that. So this is the raw file.
130 and we are go, Bob. Very good. 2 Gs. 2.5 Gs. See it quiets out after max Q. Yep, quiets out. Push.
And there you go. You can hear it. So I'm using that as a cue. And listening to onboard shuttle missions also was a inspiration for that, because now they're getting out of the atmosphere. So let's hear it with the wind noise.
Okay, 1 minute, 68 degrees. Okay. Everything looks great over here. Okay.
So here comes the volume and the EQ level of the wind noise, and then here comes right behind it the imaging. And then this launch sound fades out. I kind of want them to be hard to hear right now. You see, he's got to raise his voice, so it's still loud in there. And then it starts going away. All right, so as we fun, and that was the loudest part probably of the whole project. It was meant to be obnoxious, because it probably was just ripping loud in there. So now the wind goes away. We just got galactic static here, the cabin rumble. I got this inspiration from listening to onboard shuttle files. When they get out of the atmosphere, and the shuttle was a howler too. You can listen to some of the files, it sounded like it howled. But once they got out of the atmosphere, you start getting past 60, 70, 80,000 feet, and it just goes away. So, but you just hear rumbling. So I'm still pretty confident that they hear and feel this first stage just thundering in the seat of their pants. Because we're about to come up on staging here. The next part is inboard cutoff.
3 Gs, 3.5, stand by for inboard.
Watch the video. Something happened on the video. That little thing right there, I don't know if that was just the way it looked or whatever, but I like, ooh, a cool visual cue, so you're going to hear inboard cutoff. So I use that as a visual. That's a really good shot.
Okay, here's 20. Where's the sleep? Okay, it's 19. Now it's 41. 41. Okay.
Now, as you can hear, Gene Cernan, he's telling these guys this and that. He's been on this before, and he's about to tell them to hold on for staging, because they go from about 4 Gs or so to shut off, and the guys, I've heard them feel like they were going to get thrown through the console in front of their face. I did have to use an explosion sound on that, the staging one, so it's going to be a big kaboom. I'm sure they heard something there because those are big explosive bolts. Then the rocket engine is going to stop. Then the second stage is going to kick in. I do not think they heard the second stage kick in. They just knew it was on because they got pushed back in their seats. It was probably very quiet, but once again, I'm trying to be Hollywood a little bit. This little bass effect sound, it's a lot more mellower. It's going to pop at first and then mellow out. So we'll go there. And these guys, I mean, they their heads hit the thing pretty good. You're going to hear them go, geez, you know. And Gene Cern's going to say, look at that son of a bitch. He's talking about the flames from the explosive bolts. He says you can see it right out the one window they have over the center there. He says you can see the flames and you fly right through the fireball. Because he saw that on his first mission where he was sitting in that seat. So
3.5 G's. Hold on. Okay, 5 seconds.
he knows what's coming.
G's. 4 G's. Hold on. Look at that son of a bitch. Man, Jesus, gravity.
Second stage come on. Like I says, I doubt they heard anything. In fact, the command module pilot is going to say, hey, this is smooth. Skirt set. I don't think they heard something. I'd like to talk to one of these guys and say, did you hear something when the skirt set? But I'm going to put something there for an effect. Something a little mellow. And then the tower, I'm pretty sure they heard. Now the radio's kicking out here, so I'm just turning it down to be less obnoxious. Then I'm going to start getting back with some captions here, some facts, as they go through the last bits of their first stage flight.
Okay, Bob, I got the airlift circuit breakers, and we've seen it all.
And Jack says, the cabin's sealed. I'll explain that one in a second.
By the way, the cabin's sealed.
They're laughing because they've been busy so much they forgot to tell them what happens is that back here, the cabin starts ventilating, starts using pressure. You hear the sound in the background.
Roger, 1 Bravo, we're going 1 minute.
Maybe further back here.
Okay, 1 minute, 68 degrees, okay? Everything looks great over here, okay? Okay, stand by for man, from a max view. We'll be at 68 degrees.
Cabin's relieving, you hear it in the background, okay? What it is that these guys are not operating at 1 atmospheric unit of pressure like they did on the shuttle and on the space station. I think the cabins were at 5 psi, and normally that kind of air pressure would kill you because lack of oxygen molecules. So they ran 100% oxygen environment, but they have to seal the cabin against the air at sea level, so they pressurize it to 1 pound or so above 14.7, like 16 psi. And it was that tragic accident of a 16 psi 100% oxygen environment with Gus Grissom and Ed White and Roger Chaffee, Apollo 1, that made him rethink that. So after that, the cabins would be pressurized, I think, with 60% nitrogen, 40% oxygen. And as the cabins relieved air pressure down to about 5 psi, it would be supplemented with a 100% oxygen environment. It's different at 5 psi versus 16. So they seal the cabin. And I think in their suits they were like 3.5 or 4. This is why they could operate in a vacuum. You didn't have as much physical air in the lunar module to suck out for going outside and put back in to repressurize. And I'm sure that must have hurt their eardrums when they came down for a splashdown and the cabin started opening up, letting air pressure in because they can't pop their ears because on the helmets. All right, let's get back to it.
Circuit breakers, you got chance, Sergi.
These guys are busy. Shuttle guys just sit around and watch things change, and no disrespect to them, but these guys are pushing buttons and moving switches and. So as they laugh, I shift into the next segment of the video, this music that I made. I don't remember where I got this speech from. It's very emotional, so I wanted to let that happen.
The most recent, whatever. I was looking for the freeze button. I wanted to stop time. I asked myself, what was the meaning of me being here?
And then I'm going to add another layer. I'm like making music in layers. Next measure.
What does it mean to you? What did it mean to future generations? We just
That beautiful film footage.
body in this universe we have chosen to call the moon. Think of that.
And then his last, before he left the moon, because Gene Cernan was the last person to walk on the moon.
For some time to come, but we believe not too long in the future. I'd like to just let what I believe history will record that
And then
America's challenge of today
make sure it's just his voice.
forge man's destiny of tomorrow.
And then roll credits. So that is it. Breakdown on some of this stuff I was doing. You can see some of the automation going here, some of the things why I did what I did. One thing I didn't do that, some people have reposted the video, and we talked about in my previous video about the copyright issues that somebody thought that they had a monopoly on the source material, but other people have posted my videos, and I could have filed copyright. I let it go. Just let them stay up, man. This is history. But somebody put the from the Earth to the Moon or something music during the launch, and I thought that was honestly silly. But they did what they did. You get to hear dun 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 as it lifts off. I didn't want that. Sometimes the absence of music is the right thing to do. So that's how I felt, and that's why there's no music in Beast Mode 1. Absolutely not. I just want raw sound. So that is this. This is a little behind the scenes. I haven't opened this session up in a long time. I still had hair, I think, when I made this. And that's the entire thing. So, if you guys, I'll read the comments if you have any questions. But that's just what I did with it. And I'm glad you guys enjoy this, especially on this 50th anniversary. And I'm posting this today on the 50th anniversary of their return, Splashdown, where they had to spend 3 weeks in quarantine for no reason. All right. Thank you for watching.